Hello, welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general, and in this video we're going to be talking about an area control dudes on the map game. We're going to be talking about Cry Havoc, and in this game you'll be playing cards to take actions to move your troops around the map, take control of different types of gems that will give you victory points that will allow you to win the game. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We're telling you what we do like, what we don't like, and we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Cry Havoc is still worth your time and bother 9 years after its first release. I think it was 2015. I think it was 2016, 8 years after its first release. So remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel, hit the like button and all that YouTube bullshit. We'll see you after this. Bollocks. So, Cry Havoc, how'd you play this game? So Cry Havoc is a dudes on the map area control game. The way you win the game is you take control of different areas and you'll get points for the amount of gems that you've got in the areas that you control, amongst other things, right? Each player is going to take control of a faction. You'll have an HQ on the board and you'll have a player board off the board, right? You'll have a number of different structures. You'll select these before you start the game and you'll put a bunch of your miniatures on your faction HQ, right? So the first thing you're going to do in this game is you're going to resolve an event. If you're playing with just a base game, then you'll see that there's an event token that you'll flip over at certain points and you'll just do what it says on the event token, right? If you've got the Aftermath expansion, this changes it up a little bit. You'll have a card that you'll flip over and you'll do that every round because you might not resolve an event every round, right? It's a little bit confusing, yeah? It's a bit of a pain in the ass as well. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to draw 4 cards from your deck, and if you've got more than 7 cards, you'll have to discard down, right? And then you will take actions. You do this by playing cards. These cards are multi-use. You'll see that there's different icons on each of the cards. You've got the move icon, which is the arrow icon. You've got the recruit icon, and then you've got the build icon as well. You also see that some cards have got a text box in the bottom. Some of these are used for battles only, and some of them aren't, right? So if you want to move, you'll discard some cards and use their move value, yeah? Each icon has an arrow on it will allow you to move 1 space. And if you move into a space with a Trog War token or an exploration token, then you will have to flip it over and you will resolve it. If you move into a space with any other player's miniatures, then you'll have to stop there and then you'll have a battle in a bit, right? So if you decide to play cards for the recruit action, for each recruit icon, you'll be able to put a miniature from your supply onto your HQ, right? And if you want to use it for the build structures ability, then each icon will give you build points that will allow you to build different structures, yeah? Each faction has different structures to build and they are all different, right? You're not going to use all of them throughout the game, and if you've got the Aftermath expansion, you definitely are not going to be using all of them because there's so bleeding many. So if you build a structure, you'll take the corresponding token and you'll put it on the board. You can also take region action cards if you want. You see that each location on the board has a different region icon. You'll choose to draw from a specific deck, and this means that this card can only be used in that specific region, right? So don't forget that you can't use a bleeding mountain card in a fucking desert, right? So if a battle takes place in one of the regions, then you will take the battle board and the attacker will take all of their miniatures out of the area that's in contention and they'll place them on one of the different spots on the battle board. The first space is region control. If you've got the majority of miniatures on this bit, then you'll take control of the region. Then you've got capture prisoners. If you've got the majority on this one, then you'll take one of the miniatures off of the board and you put it in front of you, and this will give you a victory point at the beginning of your turn, right? Then finally, you've got the attrition space, and this means that each player kills 1 enemy for each of their units placed on this objective. Yes, if you've got 3 units on there, then you will kill 3 enemies, right? I know you didn't get GCSE maths at school, but for fuck's sake. And then if scoring is enabled, yeah, what this means is if you put your scoring marker on the enable scoring space, then you'll go through a bit of scoring. You'll get 1 victory point for every region you control, and you'll get 1 victory point for each crystal that you have got in the region that you control, yeah? So the game ends at the end of the 5th round, and there will definitely be an enable scoring. You do your final scoring, and then the player with the most victory points will be the winner of Cry Havoc. So do you like that Cry Havoc? So the first thing that we really like about this game is the multi-use cards. Basically what this does, it means that you've got 4 different options at max as to what you're going to do on your turn. Are you going to build a structure? Stick your massive big purple Nelson's column in a region to deter your opponent from coming in there, yeah? And not only have you got the icons on the side of the card, but you've also got the text at the bottom that you can use in a battle, right? So you might end up using the drop troopers if you are the human faction. It says move 1 of your troops from 1 battle objective to a different one. This is really sneaky, yeah? Because you might know that you have lost the majority, then you can stick it in the attrition thing at the bottom and you can kill one of your opponents, yeah? Or you might end up with the air recon card and it says you may change your position on the upcoming initiative track, yeah? This allows you to go first or even last. Sometimes in this game, it's not appropriate to go first, right? So yeah, the quadruple use cards are one of the standout features of this game, and it sort of set a standard in these area control games, didn't it? So the second thing that we really like about Cry Havoc is that it works best as a 3-player game, because let's face it, nobody wants to be those fucking trogs, do they? And that's with good reason, because they're fucking boring and they don't really do much, and they just feel like they've been put there for cannon fodder. And there's not really that many dedicated 3-player games out there. Think of maybe 2. Maria for 1, and maybe Le Havre, because that works best at 3, even though it's not exclusively 3 players, it does work best at 3. So yeah, it's really good that the game seems to have been created with 3 players in mind, and sometimes I think I wouldn't mind playing this with 6 players, but it would probably be too crowded, so 3 players works best, yeah, and that's good. So the final thing that we like about Cry Havoc is that the combat system was incredibly novel for its time. A lot of games that came before this, it was a case of just facing off against each other, but this game turned things on its head and allowed you to place your miniatures on different objectives, right? Rising Sun took this principle and ran with it. If you look back at this game, it does feel a little bit out of date, and you've got to remember that this maybe was the first game to do that. I know there's going to be a lot of fuckers out there saying, no, it wasn't the first game to do this. X game did this and Y game did this. But the way that it treated combat in a non-linear fashion was quite fresh at the time, yeah? So what don't we like about Cry Havoc? So the first thing that we don't like about this game is that I still feel as though this game is unbalanced in favour of the humans. Remember when I bought this game the first time around when it first came out? I say that because I actually ended up burning this game in my garden. I contacted the designer asking him if he thought that the human faction was overpowered, and he lost his fucking mind. The guy was really rude to me. I said, look mate, don't take it personally. He said, I do take it personally because I've been working on this game for like 5 years of my life, and then you come along and you basically try and rubbish it. Yeah, I took the game out into my garden, poured a lot of fuel over it and set a light to it and sent in fucking video. I found it in a bargain bin for about $7.99. I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was too harsh on the Larry cunt. So I decided to pick it up again and have another look. And I still think that the humans are overpowered, because we played this about 12 times first time round, and I've played this 3 times with the new one, and guess what? The humans won every fucking time. Not the first time round, they won about 10 out of 12 games, but they won all the games we played subsequently with this bargain bucket copy, yeah? So I'm pretty sure this game suffers from balancing issues, and as such they're probably going to sort of house rule something to do with the humans to try and stop them being overpowered. Maybe it's just that I'm too fucking good at it. So the second thing we don't like about Cry Havoc is there's no minis for these structures, and this sucks big time because you can't see what's on the fucking board. It's cluttered with a load of shit. You got minis for your dudes on a map, right? But you haven't got 3D minis for these structures, and it feels as if they've done that for cheapskate reasons, yeah? There's no reason why you couldn't have a tiny little miniature for your airfield. It feels like I've been shortchanged, and I would have liked to have a 3D representation of my structures just so that I can remember that they're there and I can remember to use them, yeah? Because more often than not, I don't. So the final thing that we don't like about Cry Havoc is this game is aesthetically repulsive to me. The colour scheme is awful, yeah? It's like this washed out pale colours, and the board looks like a pile of shit. It's too geometrically brutal. I don't know what they were doing there with that big black fucking hole in the centre of the board, and there's just no style to the game whatsoever, yeah? It feels like they've hired a really cheap artist, or maybe drawn it themselves. It just makes me feel sick. It's like eating rotten fish. It just sits there in your stomach and eventually it comes out in a projectile vomit. So yeah, Cry Havoc looks like complete and utter dog shit, and there's nothing you can do about it. So to summarise, is Cry Havoc still worth your time and bother 8 years after it was first released? So we are going to say no. Cry Havoc is a valiant attempt to create something new in a crowded arena, and it largely failed, yeah? The unbalanced factions coupled with the crude colour scheme derail a game that could have rivaled other area control games for the top dog in this space, yeah? The fresh take on the combat system coupled with multi-use cards are a bright point in an otherwise inspiring romp through the dudes on the map genre. It just feels dated now. Like, it's just so many other games are better than this. I mean, I can think of Blood Rage, Rising Sun, even El Grande, even though it come out like, I don't know, 20 years before this, is a much better game. That would explain why A, it's a regular in bargain bins these days, and why it's dropped off the industry YouTube heavyweights top 100s and seemingly sunk into an underwater abyss. So there you go, that is Cry Havoc. Remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel, hit the like button, all that YouTube bullshit. See you next Tuesday.